Yeremiya chapter 23, between 23 and 24, just two verses. In the Old Testament, Jeremiah chapter 23 to 24. I am going to read this Bible passage for you. Am I only a God nearby, declares the Lord, and not a God far away? Who can hide in secret places so that I cannot see them, declares the Lord. Do not I fill heaven and earth, declares the Lord. This is what God. Amen. Amen. Let's do short prayer to preach the word of God. Let's pray. Lord, your people gather together to listen to your word. Lord, hold on to your great servant, Lord, your weak servant, with the power of the Holy Spirit, so that I may preach your great word with the power of the Holy Spirit, Lord. Oh Lord, come here and be with each of us, especially with your weak servant, so that we all may listen to your great word, to fulfill our heart and mind with the power of the Holy Spirit. I'm asking these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. We have already examined the most fundamental and ultimate characters which God has. We all know that they are called God's nature. They were the fact that God is infinite, unlimited, and spiritual and personal. But in addition to that, God has His attributes which He wants to reveal to our human beings. We have known the fact that God's attribute can be divided into God's unshared attribute, which only God has, and God's shared attribute, which our human beings, who were created in God's image, somewhat have. The first one of God's unshared attribute was, in the last time already, God's eternity and immutability. God's eternity and immutability. Today, we are going to look at God's omnipresence as the other unshared attribute which God has. About God's omnipresence, I have already said about the word, the terminology in the last Sunday sermon. Can you remember? What is God's omnipresence? It means that God exists in all places. God exists in all places. It means that there is no place where God does not exist. The question is that, how can it be possible for God to exist in all places? This is actually truly beyond our understanding as human beings. But in order to understand this fact, partly we need to remember again God's nature to mean that God is not physical, but spiritual. You know, our body, which occupies a fixed space, has only a certain place. But God's Spirit is not caught in the body or is not linked in any certain place at all. You know, like all places in the earth are full of what? Air. You still breathe your air at this moment, right? But God and the Spirit exist fully in the entire world. God's Spirit is not full only in this earth like air. You know, besides the earth, God's Spirit is full in the entire universe. Everywhere. God's Spirit is not full only in the universe which is seen by our eyes, but God's Spirit is full also in the unlimited universe and the other heavens which are unseen by our eyes. You know, do you know this fact? The Bible says to us about three kinds of heavens. The first heaven is the one in the earth and the universe. The second heaven is the one which the Satan and evil spirit control and whose ruling authority they have. In Ephesians chapter 6, we can find out that kind of thing. And the third heaven is the one whose ruling authority only God and the angels have. In these three kinds of heavens, what happened? God is full. God is full. It is the very God who is full in the earth, the heaven over this earth, in the numerous stars in the universe, and the other heaven. When God is full in all the places, He does not always exist at the same way. It is described that God is the one who sits on the throne in the heavenly kingdom where God existed. You know, in Revelation chapter 4, verse 2 and to 3, it is written that at once was in the Spirit, and there before me was a throne in heaven with someone sitting on it. And the one who sat there had the appearance of jasper and ruby, a rainbow that shone like an emerald encircled the throne. It's marvelous appearance. Yes, it is. You know, God is in heaven as the one who is sitting on it, but also shows His existing appearance as the form of flashes of lightning, rumbling, and the peals of thunder to people on this earth. When we look at Revelation chapter 4, verse 5, it is written that from the throne came flashes of lightning, rumbling, and the peals of thunder. In front of the throne, what? 7 lamps were blazing. There are the 7 spirits of God. It's not like, the novel or fiction, but all the contents are written in the Bible. The Bible says that it is true. It is truth. Like this, God exists in all places as the various appearance and ways. But this is different from pantheism, as I said in the last time. You know, pantheism is a theory which says that God is the being which is eternally locked in all places, in all things, as a sort of prisoner, and the one who denies the personality which God has. You know, God exists in all things in a variety of ways, but God is neither confined in all things nor is controlled by them at all. God does not exist in all things at all without any thought, any feeling, any will, like a machine, soul, or robot, powerlessly. No. People who believe in pantheism think that God can be controlled by man's will. And they think that when man gives God food and the other sacrifice, God will receive it and start his road towards them. Then man begs God to accept man's bribe and to stop giving disaster to him and to make his life peaceful. You know, we came from originally South Korea, and then one child from China there. So we all know that they kind of feeling. The Oriental people have a memorial service for what? For his deceased ancestor, for father. So that what they do? They may give food to God. Then they ask God to receive the food as a bribe and to give a blessing to the deceased forefathers and the living people. I have an experience as I was child back then. But you got the same feeling, I think, yeah. While in Western country, in the Western area, there was a lot of sacrifice, such as a bribe. I will let you know my experience. When I took a trip to Israel in February, I went to Sicilian Philippi. Sicilian Philippi is in Bible, in Korean name, Kaisara Philippi. Okay? Sicilian Philippi. This area is made of all rock mountains. Then, in each rock, people made a hole. And in each place, people had sacrificial rites to give to men, gods, what? Food, and animals, and even human beings who were killed as a sacrifice. In Sicilian Philippi, where is full of believing in pantheism, Jesus made an important question to his disciples. Do you know what it means? Jesus Christ made a question to his disciples. He said, what were they? He asked them, who people might say I am? And the answers came out such as Elijah and John the Baptist and one of the prophets. But Jesus praised Peter, his disciple, for the answer to say that. What did he say? You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. And Jesus clearly showed his being in the spiritual area of Christian Philippi, full of pantheism. Then he rejected the idea by which people believe that God exists in all wishes. Jesus indirectly scolded the rites by which people gave various gods a memorial service and sacrifice. What does such a pantheistic rite mean? It means that through the rite, people beg to make God's wrath go down and ask God to give man happiness, peace, good things. And likewise, pantheism does not treat God personally at all. Man is never interested in his sinful action. It's only for appeasing God's heart, because he brings unhappiness and disaster to man. Then man gives the food and sacrifice as a bribe. Then after receiving the bribe, man asks God to remain still. It's sort of shut your mouth. Remain still, and not to give man any disaster. This is the wrong idea, because man treats God only for man's own interest. Then people who believe in pantheism hold a memorial service with putting the head of a king of peace on his table. I thought that kind of right and service in my country, Australia. When somebody opens their work, at the end of their work, they set up a table. They put on the king of peace, the head of the king of peace, and they worship. What did they do? Please, if there is God, give us blessing. Bless my work. And what happened as well? In order to take away disaster, they sprinkled salt on the ground. When they open, they shout at first time. And then they beg people tree, which is a various decorative. As well as they beg people rock, on which a candle is lighted. And all these things do not treat God personally. It's man's intention to stop disaster which comes into him by means of a bright gift, unconditionally, regardless of his own action. In other words, it is for man to utilize God as man's instrument for his purpose and benefit. And it is not important for a man to think of God's intention and personality. Man asks God not to give disaster to him only after receiving a bright gift. It is man asking God to do whatever he wants God to do. And it is man's selfishness by which man tracks down God to the far lower step than man's personality. When we often make any relationship with other people, what happens? We think about each other's personality. And then we make our effort to make the opposite heart happy, rather than my heart. But people who live according to pantheism think that God is the one who receives a bright food and sacrifice from man, and the one who does whatever man wants God to do. And a very unrighteous and immoral judge who satisfies his belly. Loving friends, this is the art by which normal people believing in God's existence, they will live. We must reject this wrong idea. We must not let this idea control our life. And God is never such a stupid and immoral being who is locked in all things and only deceives man to drive and to give man only happiness. No. God is in all things, but He is never locked in all things and beyond them. And such existence is made according to His will and personality which He has. His existence is neither desired by any being nor subject to any being. Such a being is the very God. The fact that God exists in all places is witnessed by many places in the Bible, particularly today's Bible text, Jeremiah chapter 23 to 24, which we have read today, says as follows. What it says: Am I only a God nearby? Declares the Lord, and not a God far away? Who can hide in secret places so that I cannot see them? Declares the Lord. This is great sentence as well. Do not I feel heaven and earth, declares the Lord. What does it mean? God fills heaven and earth fully. It's the Bible means. God is the one who exists fully in a near place, a far distant place, a secret place, everywhere in heaven and earth. It is the Bible verse which very clearly says about God's omnipresence. The other Bible verse in the Old Testament, Psalm 139, 7 to 10, also clearly witness God's omnipresence. It said that, where can I go from your speech? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, this is heaven, it's plural, okay? It's heavens, okay? You are there. If I make my bed in the depth, you are there. If I ride on the wings of the dove, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. What does it say? God exists in heaven, in the depth, in the edge of the sea, and in all places. No one can hide himself from God's eyes. It is because God exists in all places. In the New Testament, Acts chapter 17, 24, 25, and 28 also witness God's omnipresence as follows. It said that the God who made the world and everything in it, is the Lord of heaven and earth, and does not live in temples built by human beings, human hands, and He is not served by human hands as if He needs anything. Rather, He Himself gives everyone life and breath and everything else. The last sentence is that, for in Him, that is, for in God, we live and move and have our being. What does it mean? God is the owner of heaven and earth. Then He does not look in the temple with my human hands. God created the universe and all things in it, and He is the owner of all things. All things are in God and live and move. Therefore, God exists in all things. There is no place in all things in the universe where God does not exist. The understanding of God's omnipresence gives us warmth and comfort. You know, which warning is given to us? It is that you and I can never escape from God's presence and view. Therefore, whatever mistake I and you make, God knows all the things. All the things. Our errors can never be hidden from God's side. It is because God exists in all places and things. All things. Therefore, because of God's omnipresence, we receive the following warning. What it is? When we sin, we must not think that God does not exist here. We must not think that God does not know my sin at all. Because God is in all places. In the world that God knows all our sins one by one. Therefore, there is not any place where we can sin by getting rid of God's eye. Therefore, we must always be aware of God's eyes, which are everywhere, and must be very afraid of sinning. This says that God is everywhere and looks at each of all our thoughts and actions. It's very important to us. Without this sense of the life before God, probably we could make very bold to sin. Isn't it? God exists everywhere and looks at all our hearts, thoughts, and actions. And what? God will judge all of them. The context which verifies this fact is written in New Testament Hebrews chapter 4, verse 12 to 13 and following. It says that it judges the thoughts and attitudes of the heart. Nothing in all creation is hidden from God's sight. And everything is uncovered and laid bare before the eyes of Him to whom what? We must give account. What does it say? God knows the deepest thoughts of our human beings, and God knows the purposes of such thoughts. And then what happens? God weighs them in the scale of God's righteousness and analyze them. Then God will make the last judgment all of them. Everything of all things will be disclosed before God's eyes. All things must be judged, whether they are good or bad. What good or evil we have done, all of them will never be let pass by without making a judgment. And how much fearful word it is. It is. In Old Testament, Ecclesiastes, the last chapter, the last verse, chapter 12, verse 14, composed this truth as follows. It says that, for God will bring everything into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it is good or evil. God is everywhere and looks at all things we do. This God will judge all things of us at the last day. Therefore, while we meditate on God's omnipresence, what we have to do, let us be afraid of God. Let us be afraid of God. And let us be aware of God's sight. God's eyes, even though we are not able to see His eyes. Let's be aware of God's sight. Let us always remember God's omnipresence, God's presence. And let us be careful of all things we do before God. And let us be always alert not to do evil before God. Living with no sense of this life is like the life of unbelievers, even though you are here. Okay? If you don't have that kind of sense, unbelief. If we are true Christians, if you think you are true Christian, we must have at least the smallest sense of God's presence. And I honestly pray that the sense of God's presence and God's love may be built in you in a great way. And also, your practice of the godly life before God should be increasing. Not stay there all the time. Increasing, growing. I truly pray that the sense of God's presence and godly life may be filled abundantly in you. The truth that God is everywhere also gives us great comfort. Which comfort can be given to us is because God is everywhere and knows all of our situations, and God is ready to help us. God's such presence gives us tremendous comfort. You know, you and I fell in a difficult situation, and our heart is falling down. This difficulty is known only by me. You think no one knows this situation, but though all people in the world do not know my difficulty, there is the only one who knows my difficulty, my situation. Who is the one? We know that it is the very God who is everywhere. All situations and all people reject me. They ignore me. They suppress me. but among such situations, there is the one who knows all of me, and he will receive, admit, and help me. What great comfort. The one is the very God who is everywhere. How much great comfort may be given to us because of this fact. In the New Testament, in the 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 3 to 4, it says about God who is everywhere and comforts the saints, the believers who trust in Him. That it says that, praise be to the God and the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves receive from God. God who is everywhere is the one who can comfort us when we are in any difficulty. A Christian is the one who experiences this kind of comfort. Loving friends, let us trust in God who can comfort us in any suffering and trouble. Let us experience God's great comfort in Christ, which comes into our souls when we seek God. This comfort is the one which comes down from heaven and refreshes our souls. This is the comfort which belongs to heaven and cannot be tasted from any other thing in this world. It is the very God, the Father of our souls, who can truly comfort and heal your present difficulty. So, let us go forward to God. Let us trust in God with the word and prayer. Let us ask for God's help. Let us seek God's comfort with a true heart. I pray in the name of the Lord that all of you may experience comfort and help by which God may heal your heart and soul. Amen. Amen. And we stand up and sing the last.